Alright guys, I'm going to do a quick tutorial um, as far as making train horns and putting them into train sim. Um, so once you get your horn, you can see I've got a bunch of different ones here. You're going to want to use some type of video editor. You can find one on the Microsoft Store or on the internet. Find some that you can add. Just some type of video maker so that you can edit your clips down to just the exact horn that you want to use. And as far as the actual blast, you're going to want the horn to be the same note. That way, when you do your loop file, there's no like audible loop sound. Like you won't hear the horn repeat. For example, is that, are you guys able to hear that? Let me see. Okay. All right. So yeah, just like that, you can hear there's no like, see, it just stays the same note. And you're gonna want that. And then you're gonna want to find some type of website that converts your file, your MP4 files, to WAV format, because that's what you're going to change in your directory, which we will get to later. But first, find a website. I use Online Convert, audio.onlineconvert.com. They have a bunch of different ones that you can choose from. I only use Convert to WAV because that's all I'm doing. Um, so once you have that, you're going to want to pull up whatever folder you had, and you're going to want to drag and drop. And the reason why I would recommend keeping this folder up is because when you put these horns over here, you're going to want to clip the WAV file down to just that horn blast. So any like extra sounds that may have been there, like you want to try and eliminate that. So the one we dragged was Kansas City Southern 4148. So I'm going to test the horn and see. So the horn stops maybe about 3 seconds in. So I can do 0, 0 to 3. So then that'll only save out the first 3 seconds of that clip. We're going to start it. It should auto download. There it is. So now we have that. So what we can do now is go into our downloads, and there it is, KCS 4148. You can see I've already done some here. So what you're going to want to do is have Audacity. Now Audacity is the tool that most people would recommend to use when you're converting horns into the simulator. And you're going to want to drag your horn file over, and it's going to say open with Audacity. You're just going to let your mouse go. It'll open it up. Now you see we have 2 tracks. You're going to want to split stereo to mono. Some of them have it differently where you're going to have to split it first and then convert it to mono. For me, it's kind of one and the same. So split stereo to mono, it allows you to control both. You're going to want to get rid of the second one. Now you can press play and it'll follow this little indicator that'll play through your entire horn so that you can hear the whole thing. Now you can see here it just kind of cuts off. So what you can do is you can click different places, and you see that little finger pops up. You can click and hold and drag and select certain parts, which that comes in handy. So what you want to do is go back to the end, and you will see the yellow line. That means you're at the end. You're going to grab the other end. We're going to move it over. We're going to find a nice little spot where the horn dips out. So it dips maybe about right there. Start from here, back to the edge, and then you're going to hit Effect. And the Effect tool is what you're going to use for most of this. And we'll go through the ones that I use and the ones that you might find are helpful. But fade out and fade in are good because they help create your start and your end. Fade out, and there you go. So then we can start from a little further back, and it fades out instead of just cutting off. And then we can do the same thing here, except here we're going to want a little steeper of a cut in. And then what we can do is grab this extra part, click a pair of scissors, cut it out, and then we can start from the beginning. See, it's got more of a punch right there. Now what we can do, double click and we'll select the whole thing. We can go into Effect and we can amplify it. So if we want it to make it a little bit louder, see that initial punch is a lot stronger. So that's what we could do. Or if we wanted to, we could change the bass and the treble, give it more of a growl. We could give it a serious growl if we wanted to. Or we could give it no growl. And you can also change the volume. So if you wanted to have it outside view, then have the cab view, or have maybe a little bit quieter, maybe something like that, you could do all of that. Let's see here. Where did it go? Had a little. Our effect tool is gone. That's weird. Or the bass and treble. But you can also change. Where'd it go? It's saying we have to select. Oh, that audio. That's right. Okay. So this is what it sounds like, and we can select 0. That's the whole thing in one note. If we wanted to change it to maybe a 2% change, we wanted to give it a much deeper. I mean, there's tons of things you can do. So we're going to leave it the way it is, and we're going to go ahead and create our start and loop and our end. So you're going to click from the beginning, and you're going to find the right spot for your start. And this is just the initial. So a lot of times, if you want to do like a horn show in your simulator, this is the blast that's going to be heard. What I do sometimes is loop it to see what it sounds like. You drag that. It gets annoying after a while. You can go over here and copy it. That'll copy that little section. You go to File and hit New, Edit, Paste. file again, export, export audio. And we'll do that for everything, so you'll get it pretty down and you'll understand what exactly you're doing. This is the start for KCS 4148. So I'll just label it KCS 4148 start. And it'll automatically save it as a .wav file because we already converted it to that. You don't have to save the project because it already downloaded it. The saving the project is different when it comes to audio files. Um, so when you save your project, it's a whole different process of saving it versus what we did, which was just downloading it. And if you don't, if you don't trust it, you can always check. And there it is, 4148 start. There it is. So now we can find our loop. And the loop is the tricky part um, because you're going to have to hear it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Because you're going to want the beginning of the loop to have the exact same sound as the end of the loop so that when it repeats, you don't hear that sound or that sound or any abnormal sound in between. Like if you can hear the engine's bell in the audio file, if it's like a, random ding right here, and you can hear it over everything else, like the spike is a little higher, you will hear it each time it repeats. And you'll be able to tell because all it's doing is repeating everything between 0.2 seconds and 2.3 seconds. Well, now that's probably like 0.18 seconds and 2.32 seconds. So it's just looping everything. So every time you hold your horn down for longer than that period of time, it'll just loop that same track. So if you have any abnormal or louder or different sounds, either right at the end or in the beginning or anywhere in the middle, any significantly larger spikes, you will hear it every time you hold your horn longer than whatever amount of time is in between these two brackets. So just to be sure we copy the right part, we're going to move these over so that they match the brackets. We're going to copy it. Same thing, file, new, edit, paste, file, export, export audio. And then we'll save it as the loop. Just to be sure we can check it. And there it is, the loop. We don't have to save that. Now we can find our ends. We can get rid of the loop brackets. It would just be from, you're going to want, you notice what I'm doing. I'm keeping these lines. With this one, I had to change it just to keep that track the same. But you're going to want to try to keep each separation in the exact same spot. So the end of our loop to the beginning of our end, from the end of our start to the beginning of our loop, so on and so on. You're going to want to try to keep that as consistent as possible. Otherwise, you might have a sound overlap, especially if the ending ends on a little bit of a higher note and you started a little too early, you'll have an overlap in your horn blast and you'll hear it. So now we can copy our ending, go to File, New, Edit, Paste, File, Export, Export Audio, KCS 4148. And, Because we did some edits to this, if you want to keep the original horn in case you decide, I don't like my start, I don't like my loop, I don't like my ending, I want to change it, I always go back, not new, I always go back and export this audio and save that as just the horn, and I'll keep it with my files. You want to go ahead and replace it because we did some changes. We can always come back in. Actually, if you want to go back and change it, then don't replace it. Save it as maybe horn one, KCS 4148 underscore horn one, or because this actual file name will not be put into the train sim directory. You won't have to type that in anywhere. So you can adjust that, to be this very specific, like first attempt, KCS 41. But you don't have to save the project. And then we have our horn, we have our start, our loop, and our end. So now we can go into our directory. Let's say I want to change my Norfolk Southern. So go into audio, vehicles, diesel, ace. You notice the bell has to be outside of the cab folder. The horn files have to be inside the cab folder. The bell has to be in just the diesel's file in order for you to have the bell work. If you put it inside the cab folder, I don't know why, even though the file that the bell belongs to is in the cab folder, if you put the bell in there with it, it won't read it. I don't know why. Um, but yes, your bell has to be outside of the cab. Um, because I mean, kind of, sort of, I mean, it is outside of the cab. So I guess that would be a way to remember it. Um, So you're going to want to go to Horn Proxy XML. You can see I already have some other ones, so that's 1156. I kind of liked it. It was nice, but we already have these saved somewhere else, so we can go ahead and delete them. Um, we're going to take our end, loop, and start, copy, paste, and then you're going to want to open your Horn Proxy XML, not the bin file, the XML file. And I use Notepad. Um, and one thing you might have to do is click properties and make sure that is not like that. Make sure neither of these are checked. Make sure neither of them are checked and hit apply. And if it asks you to do the same to other subfolders, go ahead and click yes. Because when you change it, it allows you to save it right then and there without having to make a new file to save it under. And you'll see what I mean. So you have our bell, and we have our horn. So these are different. So whatever is in between cab and this, you know, greater than, or actually that's less than sign, whatever is in between that slash and that symbol, that's what you're changing. And it should be whatever horn loop dot DAV. You're going to want to change it because these files are WAV. You're going to want to change them to those. So we're going to type in ACS 4148, and it's already, loop is already there, and .wav is there. Now you have to make sure that whatever file name you have is the exact same typed out here. Otherwise, you won't hear it. If you accidentally put a space there instead of an underscore, or if you don't put an underscore, if you put a space and an underscore, if it's different from what it's listed as in the file, it won't read it and you won't hear it. So you have to make sure that you go back before you save it and exit. You have to make sure that these files are typed out, their names are typed out exactly the way they are. ACS 4148. ACS 4148. So then now we click X, save, and instead of it bringing up a new like save as window, it just resaved that over. 7:14 p.m. 31st. Happy New Year's, by the way. Um, it resaved the file for us. And that's that. You jump in and have your horn. As long as your horn is set to mono, as long as you have your start, end, and loop files, as long as they're in the right spots, as long as they're listed correctly, as long as you went back and double checked that everything is you know put in there correctly into the actual file, everything will work. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to message me, comment under this video. But I hope you guys have a great New Year's Eve. I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little under the weather. We will be streaming tonight at midnight, sometime around then, hopefully. Playing the crew 2. Um, might do something in the morning, maybe. But yes, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope it helps you guys out a lot, and I will see you in the next one.